Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our backyard. It is the end of July, so it is time for my monthly garden tour. And I like to do a garden tour every month so I can see the changes and kind of what to expect. Sometimes I like to go and look at last year to see, oh, this is what it looked like at the same time a year ago. My name is Crystal, and I garden south of Houston in Zone 9B along the Texas Gulf Coast. And we are hot. Yesterday was hot. We're in the high 90s. We have an ozone alert today. It is just hot, hot, hot. So I like to start at certain vantage points. And I'm actually going to start the other direction, because that's where the sun comes out, is what I call our south bed. July's been busy. It's been hard to even want to come out and do gardening. It's been so hot and humid. I'm going to go around this way. It's been so hot, and we were on vacation in the beginning part of July, and oh my goodness, it is, it's been tough to get back into it. But like I said, I like to start in a different section each time. And on the side, I've got my native coral honeysuckle that I just love, and it is flowering. It is also producing berries. I can see the birds have been eating the berries. I have birds that come in here and I guess maybe get away from the sun. They like to go in there and just roost during the hot part of the day. But look at that huge giant milkweed. Isn't that phenomenal? I just love what this plant is doing this year. And the other one that's really showing off is the one right next to it. Let me get a little closer. This is called a Pride of Barbados, and I just really, this shines in the heat of summer, and you can see a lot of little buds still on it. It's really showy. I love the foliage. It's just a really, really pretty plant. Right now, I've got quite a few things happening back here. Lots of big bumblebees. We've got a pink porterweed. This happens to be Cuphea. I've got native Salvia farinaceae. I've got my very last dwarf butterfly bush that I have in a container. And let me go in the back. The firebush back here are blooming beautifully. You'll notice that they're producing the berries. I've got the large leaf. Excuse me, I sneezed there. And the small leaf. And I figured by now this would be a little bit taller, but it is flowering very gorgeously, so I am happy. And the natives are back here, the pollinators. And this is my Mexican flame vine. What I have noticed is it does not, in the heat of the summer, flower for me. And this has happened the last 3 or 4 years. But it is growing beautifully. I planted it in the ground and it actually returned. And so this is from the other side. But I want to show you, look at that. It's grown over here, and it's also all along, all the way out to here. So this Mexican flame vine has just decided it loves its life back here. And I actually like how it's growing on the trellis that I have along the fence. The other thing that I'm happy that's starting to really now get larger is the candlestick alata, which is called the candlestick tree. I planted that from seed pretty much in the late spring. And then I just have salvia and kufia and everything back in here. Okay, so let's go out. And when I look out into the garden, I love how the things are growing. Finally, the firebush that had more of a red hue is starting to do well. It's flowering and growing. My purple porterweed is getting gorgeously tall. And interesting, let me show you the 4x4. Ooh, I have lots of bumblebees around. These are phlox. They are native phlox called John Fanick phlox, and they have been blooming beautifully for the last couple of months. The pipevine swallowtail butterflies are absolutely loving these and are visiting these each day. And I shared with you that finally, my blue chiffon, Rose of Sharon, is starting to bloom. It had to pretty much replace its leaves. We had so much rain that it complained. But it's doing better. And then I had a whole crop of tiny little porterweed. And I was hoping, because I plant red porterweed right here, I was hoping that some of these were going to be red, and they are not. In fact, they are what is called blue porterweed. It's not my favorite, but it reseeds prolifically. And I actually didn't have blue porterweed here. I'm going to move my camera. I had a blue porterweed in a container back there, not last year, but the year before. And it seeds blue, and it seeded itself in this bed. So I had a couple of blue porterweed here last year, and look what it's done. I just wanted to see. So I asked my husband not to cut it down. I wanted to see what was going to happen, and I wanted to see what the color of the blooms were going to be. And these, yes, are the blue porterweeds. So that's the only one that reseeds prolifically for me. The other colors do not. So I did want to share that with you. All right, I'm going to come back here. And in the spring, I shared with you that we cut all this down. This is a trumpet vine. It is highly invasive. The pollinators love the flowers. But the reason we don't like it is because the tendrils actually will go into wood, and it ruins your wood. And so this will ruin fencing, it will ruin siding. It's just awful to have. And unfortunately, we have to battle this multiple times a year. And so we will be out here cutting this down, and we actually have to take part of the fence apart because it's all in the fence there, and it's just, it's so invasive. But don't plant trumpet creeper. That stuff is just terrible to get to contain. All right, now I've got this trellising, what we call our trellis bed, and look how beautiful these vines are. These are passion vines, which are host plants to Gulf fritillaries, and we've seen quite a few Gulf fritillaries this summer, just starting to see them, which is fun. And in the midsection here, I've got flame acanthus. This is a native bush or shrub that I try to train kind of in this midsection here. And then on the way far off, I've got cardinal climber vine, and I'll be going over there shortly. So I'm going to turn this way, And what I have here is I have a beautiful Kufia. That is a David Verity. I've got Salvia leucantha and Salvia amante and amistad, and they're really, really tall. I've shared with you before, I don't like to cut these back, and the reason I don't cut them back is they are so full of activity all the time with the bees and butterflies and honeybees, and if I cut these back, the foliage certainly would look prettier, but then I would have to go weeks without the blooms, and so I just don't do that for the pollinators here. So let me come around the other side. So this is still the tree bed on this side, and I wanted to show you even our poor lantana is getting a little bit scorched, and this is known to do very well in the heat in the summertime, and it has been brutally hot lately. So I've got lantana in here, I've got some pentas, and then I'm going to come a little closer. That David Verity Kufia is just gorgeous. So the pentas, more lantana, and look at that beautiful, beautiful, stunning David Verity Kufia. This is the largest I have ever seen David Verity grow. This year's conditions, I guess, have just been spurred it on. It's flowering. The hummingbirds and butterflies, and particularly the bees, just love this plant. All right, so next to it, I have our cardinal climber trellis in what I call our central bed. And our central bed is really growing and just coming together beautifully. Get a little closer, and you can see I've been actually very impressed with hot lip salvia, which is a Salvia macrophylla. It's kind of more like a bush salvia, and my dwarf porterweed are actually playing very nicely together. This is pretty impressive. This dwarf porterweed, the bloom is much smaller than a normal porterweed, but it's still has all the advantages of porterweed, where the nectar refills, and so it just is such a wonderful pollinator attractor. And then I've got my little Joe Pyeweed, and then in through here I've had some issues with my Rose Marvel Salvia nemorosa. It just does not appreciate our very hot and humid weather. It does much better in 70 to 80 degrees, but it does not like 100. And so some of it has died back. I think one has actually died, unfortunately. So as I come around, my yarrow, it's not looking the best, but it's holding its own. I've got powwow white coneflower. This, as you'll notice, I have not deadheaded like I said I was going to. My stokesia, which is the native Stokes aster, that has that beautiful periwinkle color bloom. I've been so happy with how this has been performing in through here. So we've got our pink pentas. I've got this gorgeous Truffula pink gomphrena. I've got a Gora. I had Gora with tons of pink aphids on it in the late spring, and some of you told me to cut it back, and I did, and it's just blooming beautifully again. So I'm really happy that I cut that way back. you'll notice my little skull cap down here is getting encroached upon. The summer jewel, Salvia coccinea, or coccinea, depending on how you pronounce it, that readily self-seeds. And then my lantana. This is my favorite mounding lantana. It has started to bloom up again, but oh my goodness, it is just really encroaching on the other plants. That just grows and grows. And that's another beautiful Kufia. Oh, love my pink mandevilla. And back through here, look at that. That's Salvia leucantha. It is huge. It blooms a little bit here and there, but when it major blooms is in the late summer and early fall. So one thing I want to say about my 3 containers that I had here. So I have pink diplodenia and mandevilla. So the diplodenia are just the bushes, if you will. And my diplodenia has not bloomed as beautifully as I thought it would. But oh my goodness, this mandevilla, it has just been a beautiful, beautiful grower in the yard. I've been so happy and pleased with it. And then you can see the cardinal climber. Oh, isn't that beautiful? I love this. And you know, I grow this from seed every year. I'm going to put at the top of the screen the playlist that I have for it. Let me get a little closer. One of the channels I watch, she's in North Dallas, and she had this on her list of plants she would like to grow. And there were folks that said, oh, don't do it, it's so invasive. I'm wondering if they weren't thinking of something else. This grows from seed. It is a huge hit with hummingbirds in particular. It will reseed. So if I come down here and look at the ground, I'm behind the scenes here. If I look in the ground, I might find that it will reseed in here. But boy, I tell you, it doesn't come back in the spring. If it even remotely gets cool or colder. And I don't find it invasive at all. So this happens to be the cross between a red morning glory and a red cypress vine. And the seeds are true to seed, and I just collect the seeds and I replant them the next year. Isn't this gorgeous? Oh. So when I'm back out in the front again, you can see we've got 5 panels, and they just beautifully fill up the paneled trellises. I love to garden vertically. So lush. So now I'm going to go over this way, and you'll probably notice I don't have my hanging baskets hanging yet. I've been somewhat lazy, and I have them on drip on the ground because it's been so hot. I'll probably pull those out soonish, but I have not pulled them out the last couple of weeks. So I need to get them back up in my trees because I miss having this vertical interest. But I'm going to come over here to our shade bed. So in our shade bed, I like to grow caladiums and coleus, and you can see they're doing well. I've been pinching off the coleus flowers because I don't want them flowering yet. I want them to still concentrate on their foliage. But I think the really big point to note is this wonderful Salvia madrensis back here. Oh, and it's starting to create its bloom stalks. It seems a little early. So these are the stalks where it's going to create the blooms, and I actually am starting to get some of these yellow blooms. Let me come over here. If we can see this. Yep. This is a pollinator favorite in the fall. So it will bloom all the way through my frost. But I'm just surprised with how much the bloom stalks have started and how it's growing, and it's just it's a really beautiful stand here. I really appreciate the height. And then of course, if you follow my channel, you know I'm a huge fan of coleus and caladiums. I love how they look. I love the color they provide in the garden. And it's just the textures, I can't get that with some of your more traditional hostas, and especially heuchera or coral bells. I've tried and they just don't appreciate, even in containers. I can't grow coral bells well. They might last the season, but they certainly don't come back. These I can treat as annuals. They aren't expensive and they're beautiful. And so I love that aspect. I also will get some volunteers. These are some volunteers from seed from last year. A couple of different types. I tried a lot of different types of coleus last year. And then I was really happy with this. But I'm sure you can hear the birds. And I've got some woodpeckers over here. And I'm going to show you those. I've got a downy woodpecker and a red-belly woodpecker. And I'm going to zoom in. I love watching the birds. Anyway, you can hear there's a juvenile that's asking for food. You can hear it cheep, 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 cheep. So what I wanted to share with you on this side is we've had some wonderful pipevine swallowtails hatch from their chrysalises. And they've been in the yard, and this stand of my white veined Dutchman's pipevine, when we got back from vacation, was pretty much eaten to the ground. And so in 2 weeks, in a few days, look at this, it grows back. This is one thing I love about this particular pipevine, is it grows back so quickly. And it's so nice to have this host plant, because our pipevine swallowtails actually prefer this. Okay, so now when I turn this way, you will notice that in what we call our north garden, I've got some stuff going on. We've got cardinal climber on the fence that we actually have fishing line that it grows up on. And then you'll see that my bronze fennel is flowering. Let me get closer. So this is the host plant to the eastern black swallowtail. And it is starting to flower beautifully. The flowers go up pretty high. And love that. So it will probably end up doing some reseeding down here. When it was early summer, they were really encroaching on the powwow wildberry coneflowers, but you can see that it's been eaten and munched on, but it's kind of dying back. This is what fennel does. Some of my salvia is a little bit worse for the wear. The saucy wine is doing okay, but the rock and fuchsia, I do not have luck with that Garanitica type. It just doesn't like, you can see it's lost a lot of the foliage. Doesn't do well in our heat and humidity. It might do much better in a dry heat, but it hates 90% over 90% humidity. But again, this salvia, this is summer jewel, which is red. This reseeds prolifically, and this purple is a salvia farinacea, but the coccinea or coccinea is just, as you can see, the little seedlings here. It just easily reseeds. And then I have another giant milkweed. I've got a red porterweed. And then I have a senna plant on the end here. And this is a host plant for our yellow sulfur butterflies. Well, I just have tons of bumblebees here this morning. I'm on the other side here. You can see this rockin' fuchsia. It just does not like it here in the heat of the summer. Next to it, I have Mystic Spire salvia, and Mystic Spire says, nope, we love it here. And it just flowers and flowers and flowers. This is a huge hit in the garden. And as you can see, I've got bumblebees all over. All over. Love, love, love this plant. So one thing I'd like to point out, this is on the north fence. This is a volunteer from the neighbor who lives on this side. They've planted red cypress vine. You'll notice the leaves on this are soft and airy. And let me get a flower here. This is a very deep red, and it's in the shape of a star. That's one of the parent plants of the cross of the cardinal climber that I have on my trellises. And cardinal climber is actually right here, so I can show you. Its leaf structure is different. The morning glory has like a heart shape. You saw that cypress vine is spiky, and this is kind of a cross between them. So this is the cardinal climber, and this is just one cypress vine. But I let it go. I wanted to see what it was going to do. And so it's up here, and it's one plant. But I've kept it just to see how well it would do. Well, thank you for joining me. I hear my air conditioner on here. Sorry about that. But I really hope you're having a good summer. I hope you're enjoying your gardens, and I hope you are well. If you're finding it's hard to go out in the summer and work in your gardens, I totally understand. I feel that way too. Think about and start thinking about next year. What can you plant that does well in your area? That's one of the things that I try to do. I like blooms for a long time. I like foliage. I like to garden in different heights. And so I haven't really done much to this garden in July. And that's by design, because it is usually too hot to be able to do a lot of work. But thank you for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful day today. And I hope to see you again soon.